because it will help you clean and reassemble the watch. Hey, I'm JD and welcome to my channel. Today we're working on the disassembly and cleaning of a very, very old key wound vintage pocket watch. And as you can see from the case here, this watch doesn't even have a crown and stem on it. All it's got is a little key. So I've already disassembled and cleaned the watch, but I figured I'd start by saying we're gonna do it, but I've actually did it. So it's already done. It's not cleaned yet. I'm gonna bring her downstairs. So enjoy the disassembly video, and I'll probably make another video showing the trials and tribulations of reassembly. This watch is from the late 1800s, but it's a bee with an itch on the end to actually take apart that the balance and the crazy contraption it had for holding the hairspring in place. The balance cock is not even part of the hairspring. It's not attached. I'm like, who thought of this? So anyway, it's a very interesting watch. When I took it apart, I realized disassembling this would be a little more tricky than I thought. So please enjoy the video, make some comments, and I'll see you on the assembly. Bye-bye. That's a Waltham. Actually, I lied. It's an Illinois pocket watch, not a Waltham. I had Waltham on the brain because I have another pocket watch I need to work on that's a Waltham. So it's an Illinois, an old Illinois pocket watch. Well, here we go. So this is an old Illinois pocket watch. It's a key wound pocket watch. So it's in interesting condition. It's got some tape on the back here, the case. The hinges seem to be okay on this watch, so that's not too bad. The dust cover seems to be okay. That's where the key would go through, right on the top here. And the balance, if I look at the balance, it seems to be okay as well. I wound it just a bit and it's trying to work, so it's probably pretty gummed up from having years of non-cleaning. If I pop the lid here, there's my thumbnail coming in handy again. There's the dial. The dial's actually in pretty good condition as well, so it's not too bad. So I think we'll just see if we can line this up and take the hands off to start off with. So this watch needs probably a cleaning. It looks like you set the time from the front here because there's a square peg in the front, and I know that the winding mechanism is here, but this is not the setting mechanism, and there's no arms to set this watch with. So my bold assumption on these watches, I've done a few of these in back in the day, I think. I try to avoid doing watches that are super old, but the gentleman convinced me. So he said that this was iffy. So I don't want to stress this too much. So I'll just take this off. You can't really see me doing the work here, but I can hear some ticking going on the other side, which is kind of neat. Let's have a look and see if it's still ticking. Well, there's the amplitude. It's about 2 degrees. So that's some pretty wicked ticking. Looks like I got attacked. It's actually me picking at a cuticle. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? So let me remove these hands here. And very carefully remove these hands. My very wide hand removers, which I really like, so they should pop right up. These hands seem to be pretty high up too. There we go. I've got 2 hands here. These old watches are tricky, man. Very tricky. But the gentleman said, I trust you. So that's a good thing. Now the second hand is moving, but I can't release the tension on the second hand unless I remove the watch. So which I might do, because I don't want to pull the second hand up here without having the tension off of the mainspring, because that could be trouble, my friends. See, it's barely ticking. Now what I could do here is just put a little bit of Rodico in there to stop it. That's one way of doing it here. Just put a little blob of Rodico in here, and that will stop that balance from going back and forth. and then I should be able to work on that seconds hand. So just very lightly throw that in. That stopped it, and I'm trying to push it down here on the plate without touching the balance itself, because I don't want the pivot to be disrupted here. So I'm just going to push this Rodico down nice and easy on the plate like that to make sure the balance doesn't move into it, and it's not touching the balance or anything, so it's pretty safe. And now I should be able to get access to the seconds hand and get in there and remove that. See if my plastic is too thick to get these hand removers underneath here. Oh, I think we're good. So there we go. I always worry about this stuff. It's tricky stuff. So that's done. Now I think I will leave that Rodico just stuck in there while I operate, and remove this. So there's only one screw here, case screw back here, and so it's one of the half moon case screws that they used to have back in the day, and it's pretty big, and these are tricky watches to work on. They're not easy. I've said no to this kind of watch work before, by the way. Just letting you know there, mister, because they're so darn tricky to work on. So I want to put a glove on here for this face, because it's a nice face and I don't want to start off with fingerprints. So let me grab a glove here and put this on. I think we're good. I got a glove here, I got to blow up inside out here. There we go. That's the technique right there, in case you're curious. Again, I've said this in other videos, that's the Bugs Bunny technique of whoever's got the biggest hand wins. You guys remember that show. So now I should be able to tip this over like so and have the watch movement just fall out into my hand if I'm lucky. Yeah, of course I'm not lucky, but let me look at what might be holding it back. There's only, put this back in case it falls out, and go back in and have a look at the screw, because I believe it's only the one screw, but now it's causing me problems. That's what these screws do. I'd like to actually just unscrew the screw, but I'll have to hold the movement like this to unscrew it, because it's actually touching the plate. So I have to hold the movement kind of sideways to unscrew it, and be very careful here. There we go. Trying to keep my screwdriver away from that balance. So easy to foul a balance on a watch. Just very carefully take that screw out of the way. I think that clicked on me. So I should be able to pull it straight out. It's playing funny bunny. Unscrew it a bit more. It's funny business. Now you notice I have, yeah, just moved back in again. You notice I have my screwdriver on the bottom of this. The screw is on the bottom facing down, so if gravity is not my friend, then then I don't have to really worry about the screwdriver hitting the movement. The screw is loose. Maybe I can just tuck it out of the way to get the movement out. Yes, it's almost it's almost just off just a bit to allow you to just tip the movement out. Let me just get my hand on the other side here and see if I can convince it to go around the corner. Everything on these old watches is hard. Again, that's why I typically don't do the old watches. Push this out, it comes back in. Push it out, it comes back in. Keeping my screwdriver away from that balance. Oh my God, stop it. See, it's loose right now, but it won't come out for some reason. I'm gonna just see if I can turn the whole movement around a bit. No, it's anchored in there, so I have to play with this for a while. It should drop down, but if there's no real estate on the other side, then it's going to be very difficult for it to drop through. And sometimes there's a groove, which helps. Come on, get through. It almost got through. Oh, there we go. Oh, shit. Did I say shit? I meant shoot. There we go. Alright, it's on the other side now, so I gotta very carefully see if I can move this out of the way. This is being a real pain in the butt here, and I don't know why. So taking the movement out shouldn't be the hardest part. There's usually a little groove. There we go. There we go. There's the movement. So just going to pick this up carefully and move this out of the way. Oh my God, that was hard. Stop it. This little screw was a big pain in the butt. There we go. And then the next thing I want to do is, I can put this down here for a second, but I want to put it on my nice pad. Alright, so I've got the movement out. I'm not sure if I screwed up by not taking another video of this, but it seemed to be off. But I was taking the balance out here, and I noticed that there's a regulator. The hairspring is actually attached here on the balance, which makes no sense at all. Which means that the balance is basically you're regulating this by moving what? I can't tell from the arm here what's actually moving to make this balance move, but there's a little peg here that's holding this in place, which makes it super complex. So let me have a close-up and show you. Alright, there's the close-up. So this job just got a whole lot harder because this isn't not a normal balance. So I've got the balance, the balance here, the hairspring here, but it's studded to this here over here, this arm over here, which is, I'm not used to this at all. I've never seen one of these before, so this could be very difficult to work on. I don't want to damage this hairspring at all, so I'm a bit nervous right now because I couldn't pull the balance straight up because it's attached somehow to this. So, and I have to figure out how that's attached, because if I take the balance like this and I move it upward out of the way like that, there's the balance. Basically the balance is attached here, and it's not attached to the balance cock at all. There's the balance cock there. So there seems to be a peg right there that maybe rides along the hairspring to regulate it, but this is a weird configuration, folks. I am not used to this at all. So hopefully you're enjoying this configuration, because I'm not. It's scaring me. So this is scaring me quite a bit. I've never done this before. So now when I take this balance out, the question is, do I take this out, because I don't want to leave this attached because it's going to screw up the hairspring. But then I have to restud this after the fact, which is going to be very difficult. So yeah, so I hope this gentleman who's got me to do the work still has trust in me, because I'm getting pretty nervous here, folks. Yeah, there's the balance there. So now I got to figure this one out. So I will be back. So I've decided to try to pull this out as a unit. So if I look at where my hairspring would sit and where the balance would sit, if this thing could sit on top of that, it would be great. if it's not too sharp. So I could pull this out very carefully and then lift the whole rig up. I may just lift it all up and put it down nice and softly on a mat or on this here, if it's not too if it'll fit. So, but I think taking it out as a unit might work, because I know if I go in here and I try to pull out this is studded in or whatever, I try to pull out this stud, I'm not sure whether that's going to cause a problem or not. So I think just loosening this up here very carefully. I'm just trying to get the balance out of the way so I can clean this up here. So loosening this up, get my toothpick in here so things don't rattle around. Hit the old camera. And yeah, this is very awkward. Never ever done a watch like this before. Take that screw and move it out of the way. And now, if I pick the balance, see the hole size on that screw. Is it too small to fit in here, too small to fit in here, or not? Look at the other. If I look at the other one, pretty much the same size. And I think I'm just going to have to try it out. But I think this is a dual. I think I need dual tweezers for this here, because it's going to be. This is surgery, man. Surgery. So I'm going to leave this in camera here, and hopefully I don't have any issues here at all. I think I still need to lever this out, because I think there's probably pegs that are lining this. So I'm just very carefully moving this here, but and this is like not easy. This could be glued down too, who knows. What I don't want it to do is fly up in the air while I'm doing this, because that'll be a worse of a problem if that happens. So I'm not getting any action out of this at all. Man, this thing does not want to be removed. So if that's the case, my only option is to take out the hairspring, which I don't want to do. So to restud it. So I'd rather pull this back somehow. I get another pair of another screwdriver here that's a bit smaller to see if this will fit in. Not sure. Take it from the other side. And take it from the corner here and see if this is, there's like real estate right here that might be able to, oh, there we go. Right at the edge, right on the edge of this thing, there was a little bit of real estate that was removable. Holy crap. This is like heart-stopping crap. Alright, there we go. So there's 3 holes here holding this in place. Now, I got to carefully lift this out of the way. So I grab this nice and firm and pull it up like that. And then lower this like so. So this hole, I think, is not big enough. Yeah, I don't think that hole is big enough. So let me just lower the whole thing down. Nice and easy, like that. There we go. So now I've got it kind of lowered on a balance thing here, so it's just sort of sitting there. And I'll put that very small screw in this little hole container here. And then I want to put that in a jar or some place where it's really well protected. So, so what I'll do here, let me just lift my camera up a bit. I love the refocus here, so I'm going to take this unit here, the scary unit, and put it in here. And just so it doesn't move at all. And that's pretty good in there. It's nice and stuck. Somehow I put the legs perfectly in there. Put that on top. So there, now it's in there, and I'll just move this whole thing out of the way because that is a really strange configuration, folks. I can also take the balance cock out and put that in here, and I'll have to clean the jewel for that later. And just to be a good boy here, I'll throw the hands in there as well. And there's one hand, and then I'll throw the other hand in. Got my golf voice happening this morning, so that was quite an adventure. So I'll just call this the strangest pocket watch balance ever. That'll be the name of the video. So just take this thing very carefully and move it out of the way. So I'll leave this on the end of my desk here where I've got a lot of stuff, but I don't go back there, so it's pretty safe. Not too concerned about it. And there we go. Now if I look at this key wound pocket watch here, there's 3 different screws here. So somebody's worked on this a long time ago. But there's 3 different screws. I need to take the dust cover off of this. I'd love to be able to remove this screw here, which I think I can just do it by hand now. Just manually grab this thing and twist it out, because it's being a pain in the butt. So just take that out of the way. And then I want to remove the face, and the only way to remove the face is to remove this little dust cover here. So we'll just do that really quickly. But I'm going to take a photograph of those 3 screws because I'm real concerned with the I'm just concerned with putting that back if I need to screw that back in place. I'm hoping that when I remove the plate I don't have to deal with these screws. So I'll just twist this like that. And you see there's alignment screws here on the movement for the dust cover as well. So this is a very old pocket watch. I think I looked at it, but it's the late 1800s, but it ain't new, as they say. I should be able to relieve pressure off the spring. So far this has been quite the adventure. And I'm not putting this down on a movement holder until I can get that face off, because I do not want this thing to have any issues. So there's a dial foot right there that I need to loosen the screw for the dial foot, and I'm just going in here with a very small screwdriver to get it in there into position, and then turn that. See if that loosens the screw. If I have any movement on that and it doesn't turn properly, I usually come back and don't do it. I just get a different screwdriver and start over. But I just got to get closer now. Okay, that's working out well. So that's coming out. So that's the screw. So I remove that. I get those back far enough to get out of the way, but not so far as to lose the screw. So I take these out and then screw them back in. So this one here looks like it's cracked on the end. Yeah, another problem. So here I've got a dial screw here that looks like it's worked its way out, but it's actually cracked. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get that dial screw out. And this one here looks okay, so I should be able to move that out of the way. I think an Amazon parcel just arrived. So that screw is out of the way. It's actually going to fall out on me because it's too loose. Too loose. I've been to too loose before. I'm just going to screw it in a little bit more. Go back to this one. So this screw is actually cracked. So this guy gave me a real challenge here. And that's why no one else wanted to do this work, I think. Oh, look at that. So it's not even working, the dial screw there. It's there for looks alone. So I just put my finger there to leave this gap while I back the plate off. I can use a bigger screwdriver to back it off, and just keep rotating it and backing it off. It's funny, you back it off on one side, it goes up on the other side. You play a rocker game with it, which I've done before. And then eventually I just grab it with my fingernails and work it out like that. There we go. So there it is. This is the back end of the movement. There's the face in fairly good condition, I'd say. Looks pretty good. Managed to keep my sticky fingers off it. And who knows what the next adventure is going to be here, but there's the hour wheel. And the minute wheel is just sort of sitting there. It doesn't seem to have anything keeping it down. It's sort of sitting on top. And let me just move this. There's a lot of grease or oil in here. So, holy crap, tons of oil in here. So I look at that, I think the way this thing, I'm just flipping this part over on the side so I don't get oil on my mat, but look at this. It's 100-year-old oil, folks. So now the question is, the cannon pinion here is going to be tough to remove, I think, but it needs to be removed. So, and I'll just take a picture of this. I always want photos of this in case I have springs and stuff that I need to deal with. So, take a picture of that. This won't lift off easily. This will be a pain in the butt, I think. And sometimes I've kept those in place and not bothered to remove them. I'm concerned about the spring here because of the age of the watch. So I'm concerned about, this spring here I'm a little bit concerned with, only because of the age of the watch. I don't want this to break at all. So I may leave this in place and just oil it after. This here should relieve the pressure from the mainspring. So we should be able to do that. But let me screw these screws back in here. These are just alignment screws here. This is one of the dial screws. I'll put that back in place. I'll push that in, and then this is another alignment screw that just aligns the dust cover on so it's in the right place. And this screw has no purpose in life at all. Somebody's farted with this and broke it. And then this is the other dial screw that I'll screw back in so it doesn't fall out when the watch is cleaned. And I'm just going to put this in a movement holder now and strip out the gears. And when I put it in the movement holder, I just make sure that there's nothing crushing anything on the sides. Although this movement holder it's spring loaded, so it doesn't really put too much pressure on the sides. So I'll take out the mainspring first, but I'd like to be able to relieve pressure from the mainspring. So if I can, let me just do this again, because I wound it ever so slightly to see if the balance would move. And I know that this is the click spring for the mainspring, so I may just be able to remove that, but you should have the key on the other side while you're doing that. So get this out of the way. And if you look at that, it'll move that. I think this key is kind of shitty too, by the way. He did say the key was kind of iffy. But if you look at that, the key is stripped or something. I may get my own key here and do that. Yeah, I need to press this down while I'm holding the mainspring key. So I need to move this, get this caught in my fingernail, and just push that back on my other finger if I can. Right, just push that back while I put pressure on, while I hold the mainspring from just flying around. There we go. That flew around because the key was crappy, so. Doesn't seem to be catching now. We'll see what happened with the mainspring. But there we go. Tension's off the mainspring. I got to pull this thing apart anyway. It may need a new mainspring too, because if these mainsprings are super old, then there's a chance that it's no good anymore. So let me unscrew this and go from there. All right, a watch a day keeps the doctor away. So they say. So they say. So I can safely remove the plate here. Again, I'm looking at the screws here and making sure I don't have too fat a screwdriver or too thin a screwdriver. Well, again, it looks like the screw depth has been farted with. Let me look at this one here. Yeah, this one's okay. So I've loosened that one. I'm going to put a bit of pressure on this now to loosen it, so stand by, folks. Get a bigger screwdriver here. See if that works better. Come on. There we go. So again, I try to put the screws back to where they were, but I'll have a look at these two screws to see which ones, what condition they're in. But this watch is like hurting bad from that perspective. So I'm glad I got that mainspring out nicely, because holy crap, that thing was old. Just take that out. That goes into the cleaning machine. And there's the mainspring barrel. And I'll just take that straight up. It should have a ratchet on the bottom, which it does. There's the ratchet for the mainspring barrel. I'll just take a photo of that really quickly, although it's pretty obvious. You probably don't need the photo, but I'll take one anyway. I'll be taking apart this mainspring and having a look at its condition. And then this ratchet can come out after I remove the plate, so I can just take this plate and move it straight up. I really, if I could get that Canon pinion out right now, it would be nice, but the chances are, based on my experience, I've worked on some old British pocket watches, and these Canon pinions can be a pain in the butt. They just usually don't want to come up. So we're going to get my tool out to see if I can remove this Canon pinion. Alright, this tool was probably made around the same time the watch was made, so my Binford 2000 Canon pinion remover. So you just grab onto the Canon pinion and you pull up. But this may or may not work. There's two jaws in there, so if it's too big for the smaller jaw, you put the bigger one in, and then the edges have got to have some support. So if I just take it at this angle, that should be good enough, if that's actually grabbing anything. And then when I go up like this and it goes down, is it actually doing anything? Well, I've got the Canon pinion in the jaws of death here, but it's not grabbing it low enough to lift it. So that doesn't work. What I don't want to do, though, is stress that Canon pinion, because finding another Canon pinion from an 1890 watch is going to be almost impossible. Oh, got it. Look at that, folks. Success. Pulled it right up. It's funny, it grabbed the square part of this top part. It grabbed that. That's the time setting part, and it came out. So that's perfect. That's excellent. I'm very happy about that, because that'll let me take that center wheel out and do work on that. So let me just move this around again and tighten this up just a little tiny bit, not too much. This pocket watch is an adventure. An adventure. I have to call or talk to the dude that gave it to me to work on. I think he's from Edmonton, and probably talked to a lot of other jewelers who said, I shouldn't say other jewelers, I'm not a jeweler, so, who said, yeah, I don't think so. I think this is what they said. And as you can see, the screws for the mainspring plate, screws for the mainspring plate are part of the overall plate screws. So I'm just putting these down here, and these screws are different than the other ones, so I'm moving these out of the way. These are plate screws, and they look like they're different. So I'm gonna seeing as I should put my hand out of the way so you can see what's going on here. And I just screw that back, and see they're magnetic. Look at that. Look at that. Magnetized over years of being near some superhero or something. Alright, now to get the main plate off, you usually have to go underneath like this and then just work the gap here. Get a small enough screwdriver here to work it out, and then usually it works out nicely. So I'm not sure, maybe the camera on that side wasn't so great an idea, but it doesn't cover my hand this side, which is good. So I usually tip this a bit, and then put the screwdriver right in there, and you can see on the left hand video. And that should, oh, there you go, it came right out, so be very careful here, because I want to pull that straight up and see what's remaining. There we go. And I did make a video on the trick of putting this back, which is fun when you're cleaning the watch. This gear just decided to jump out, I guess, and I think the gears go like this one goes like this, I believe. Yeah, because it's attached there and it's driving that other gear, so it goes like that. So I'll take a picture of that, because it just ensures that I don't have to do too much thinking when I reassemble a watch. And then take a picture of that other plate here. So take a couple of pictures. And this pallet fork comes straight up, right? I'll take that out in a second, but let me remove the gears here. So, and the pivot looks good there. I didn't know whether I had to repivot anything. There's the escapement. That looks pretty good. And yeah, there's the seconds wheel. I don't want that to get damaged, because I'd have to repivot that, which I don't want to do. And then because I got the pallet fork out, oh, know what happened? So when I released that mainspring and it snapped, right, what it did was it unscrewed this pinion. So this pinion is called a safety pinion, and this pinion actually screws back down onto the watch, and you just screw it in, and it prevents you from breaking the mainspring when you take this out. So that's the safety pinion for the watch. So I have to screw that pinion back on and just tighten it, right? So for now, I think I will probably use a pin vise to do this, and I'm not sure which direction it screws on. So, but this is a safety pinion, so this is actually press fit, so it's not screwed on. It looks like it's press fit. I'll have to look at that closer. So what I'm going to do here is take a photo of this as well, because I'm going to have to take a staking tool and then press that back on after. So I will, that's interesting. It's interesting that they would have it like that, and that pinion would fly right off. So let me get my photograph out again, take a picture of that. There we go. And we'll look at this really close for a second to see what's going on here. Is that truly press fit, or am I just smoking my own opium? Yeah, it is. So there's a little peg right there. I wonder if you can see that. You see that? Yeah, there's a little peg where my fingernail's pointing right here. And again, these are my guitar fingernails, so don't bug me. That peg is actually pushing, it would be pushing against the back side of this pinion. So this would go in like this, and then it would rotate till it finds the opening where that peg is. It should be, there it is there. and then that would be staked on, right? So I have to stake that on and probably glue it on, I guess, too. I'm not sure. Actually, it just stays in place like that. Maybe it doesn't need gluing. I'll have to have a look at that and see how that works. Yeah, because that just slides in there. And it gets caught in a miniature pocket they have for this thing. That is weird. That is really weird. I'm just going to put it right back where it was. Alright. You didn't see any of that. There's my bloody cuticle though. But yeah, there's a tiny pocket for this thing. So you unscrew it, you basically turn it this way, and like this way, and then take it out. And then there's a little jobby doohickey that's a pocket for it. That you turn it and it stays in the pocket. So I don't know whether that has to be glued in place or not, but I might write Old Hippie in the boys and ask. So, because I don't want to ruin its functionality that way, but by gluing it in. So that's that. That's that. And this thing here should just lift right out, but it's probably got enough oil on it to start a war. Oh, there it is there. So it's pretty evident where it goes and how it goes back in. I'll turn this the other way. So I got 99% of this stripped. Now the question is, do I take out this spring? That's the question. Which I'm always reluctant with, like I said, because I'm always worried about ruining these springs, but I think I can do that. I think I'll take this out and wash that too. So let me take another photo. It's another photo time. And zoom in on that, and then bam, I got like a picture of this configuration, although it's not that difficult. So I might leave this in place, I'm not sure, because all I need to do is clean it and then oil it, and it should clean and oil really well without me having to fart around with this spring. Because if I remove this, for some reason the screw strips or the spring breaks, I got a problem. So I think I'll leave it where it is. It's not that complex, and it should clean up no problem, and I should be able to oil it without a problem. So now I just have this part here, this to remove. This is the pallet fork. Just lift that straight up and get it out of the way. And now I got a bunch of jewels to look at. So these are old jewels, and are they still good, or do I have a jewel issue? And on the back end of this, I should have some jewels as well. I've got, actually these look like they're all bushings. No, are those jewels? Man, they've been crazy burnished into place. So these are bushings here, right? So if I look at this close, that's a bushing. So the pallet fork, bushing. There might be a jewel, and there might be a jewel here. There's no jewel there, no jewel there. And Jesus, when I look at this from this side, these do not look like jewel holes. They look like straight out bushings. So I'll clean these up. They look like they're in fairly good condition anyway, so but I'll clean these up, trying to make sure I'm under the camera here. So I think all of these, even though these look like they're jewels, when I look at them in the stereo microscope, I think those are not jewels. So that's the lower plate, but the upper plate does have jewels. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 jewels that look like they're in fairly good condition, folks. They just need to be cleaned. Yeah, they look pretty good. It doesn't look like anything's cracked. And then I've got to take this apart after and then clean that. That's for the lower balance. And so all this stuff will go into the cleaning machine. So let me just take apart the mainspring for a second. Now the safety pinion snapped on the mainspring, which is good. That's what it's for. Now the question is, when I grab the mainspring like this, and I turn it, is it still catching? And it is. So it's still catching. So there's no problem at all with the mainspring. So now I should be able to get my handy dandy screwdrivers underneath the barrel here and just pop the cap out like so. Again, I like taking pictures, that way I know which way I gotta rewind this thing back in again. Looks pretty good actually. Oh yeah, there we go. And I will zoom, photo, and then I need to walk this mainspring out. So It's got a catch on it here that's likely not in the way anymore. Let me just look at this thing. There we go. Take the barrel out, or the catch out. This is a T mainspring, which I like actually. So it doesn't look like the T is sticking out from the mainspring that far, but there's the T there, so you can see that on one side, and then there's the T on the other side. I apologize for my wounded finger here. It doesn't hurt or anything, it just looks stupid, especially up close. Looks like I'm bleeding to death. Alright, now I'm going to very carefully walk this mainspring out. I got to do this barehanded, I think, because I think that I've had very little success doing it with gloves on. Like the old days, as they say. There we go. Get my hand in there. I just need to get it out to the point where it, you know what? I gotta get my gloves off for this. I can't do this with gloves on. I don't know who does. I want names of anybody who can walk out a mainspring with gloves and a fingernail. So this will all go into the cleaning machine, and I'm going to use a mainspring winder to put it back. And luckily my thumbs have thumbnails to get under, so that's the handy part of leaving your thumbnails long. And you want to walk it out under control. So this is 1, 2, walk it, 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, walk the thing out and close the door. There we go. Now, some dude in Ireland said he was laughing the other day because they said 2 Irish guys walk into a bar. I do have an old Newfoundland joke I told you. So one guy goes into a bar, or talks to his friend. He says, I got to go to Spain and I don't speak Spanish. And the guy says, well, all you do is speak really slow. So he says, the mainspring is actually not too bad. See, it's a little bit coned. See that? I didn't cone it just now, but I'll push it back the other way in case I did. No, I didn't. I didn't cone it. It doesn't matter too much if it's coned when it's in this kind of a barrel. When it matters is if you have this mainspring and it's in one of those floating barrels. I've got one of those watches working right now with a floating barrel, where the barrel just kind of floats, the lid kind of floats on top, and if the mainspring is coned, it tends to push out, which causes friction in the barrel. And this old pocket watch here that I'm working on for Luke, that's still running, Luke. It's been running for a while now. There's no way I can get it running the right speed, but it's doing pretty good. It's like a minute a day. So this old barrel is a floating barrel in this old American Waltham pocket watch. So, and it's just ticking away like nobody's business. It likes to tick. So I'm pretty happy it seems to be working now. So we'll see if it keeps working. At all angles, folks, at all angles. Work it in, work it in. Alright, now most of these parts will go into my cleaning machine. And so I want to remove these baskets. So this is the upper basket with the lid on it. The lower basket for the small parts. And there's not very many components with these old ones, but they can still screw you. So and there's the bottom basket, and that's where I put the main plates. So I'll throw these plates in. So this plate here and this plate here can go into this basket. I'll turn that around this way, so there's a little less obtrusiveness. Is that a word? Yeah, I just want it to be flat and flat, and that should wash that up nicely. And then I throw the mainspring on the top. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Like that. And then this basket is complete. Well, I can throw the dust cover on the top of that as well, and because that'll fit no problem. And then to lower that into the basket. So there we go. Is that dust cover out of the way? Don't know. Let me just roll that mainspring into the dust cover because it's about the right size. I'll put it like that. I think that's okay. Don't know yet. And then, alright, then I've got this here, and I've got some little tiny baskets here with this here. So I'm going to take out some of these baskets and throw in some of these parts. So I got some of the parts that go along with this. I've got, I want to put the screws for this plate. So I've got the mainspring plate here, and the screws are just different size than the other one, so I want to put those as a family. So I might put them in my third basket, right? But here I can throw in, I can be really anal retentive and throw in a gear a piece or something, right? So I can throw this gear in here, and I can throw in I want the gears to be protected, so I'm going to be super anal retentive here. So I don't know any watchmaker that does that. So that's one gear here, and then throw the other gear in. This is the one with the pinion, the crazy pinion. Is that going to fit? No, it's not. So that's going to go on top somewhere, or I'll independently put it in here, but I think I'll put it on top. But I can put this gear in here, right? This is the minute wheel, or sorry, the seconds wheel. So I'm going to throw that in upside down to make sure the pivot is facing upward on this. So that's that. And then I've got some small components here that might require some attention. I've got the I want to put the escapement in so it doesn't get escaped, damaged at all. And I don't think I want to put, I got enough baskets and space in this cleaner right now to not be able to mix stuff, so I can put that escapement in separately. And the last little tiny basket I have is for probably I don't want to put this in with the shellac, because I'm always worried about the shellac being removed from that. So I'll take the pallet fork out of the way. I can throw into here the lower gear here, the ratchet gear. I can throw in these two gears here, the minute wheel and the hour wheel, and probably the screws for the main plate, right? Because I won't know why those screws are in there, so it's a perfect place to put them. And I'll throw in this annoying screw that I had here from before. So that's those screws there. I'll just zoom in a bit here. This is so exciting, right? And I want to, do I want to throw in this here? I don't know if I want to throw in the that. Let's put that in a separate basket. So let's just leave that together. All that stuff will not bother each other as it's being washed or washed, so it won't cause any issues. So that's my second basket, and I just lower that down onto here to see if it's going to fit. I want to make sure that it fits down, and see, now it doesn't fit properly, so there's an issue. And the issue is most likely with that dust cover, and I can clean that baby by hand if I really want to. I'm hoping that the spring is not in the way, because I'd like to clean the spring in that lower basket. Is it possible? Is it possible? No, it's not. So I'm going to be hand cleaning that spring as well. Then I can put the ring in again. So I'll hand clean the spring with a cloth and stuff, because I do not want to compress anything. It's this thing here that's causing the problem. So, and these things are standing up. So if I flip this thing around like that, and I put the plate in like this, and I put, you know what, that's still going to stand up. I think there's still going to be a problem. I think there is still going to be a problem. So I put this in like this. That's with the down like that, and then I put the spring in. And where did I put the dust cover? Here it is. And I put the dust cover in. Will that work? I'm out of camera here, so you probably didn't see that whole story, but I stacked it kind of like this in there. I really wanted to get the spring in there so I don't have to do it by hand. And that looks like it fits. So good. That fits. Just checking all the edges there to make sure they're down. They're dune. This is all down as well. Let me just put that in to see if that lays down flat as well. Yeah, it does. And then I can put, I'll just leave that in there like now, and I'll just put some of these parts in here. So there we go. There we go. I'll give them individual containers. So this plate here, these are the plate screws. So put the plate screws in here. I really wanted to have this plate washed separately, but I might want to have that in the lower unit again, because I don't think it'll fit in here. Don't think it'll fit in here. Looks like it's too long. So I'm going to have to put that plate in the lower unit. So I could have probably doubled up on here and put the plate in one of these, right? If that fit in one of these. Yeah, it could fit in there. So now the question is there stuff I could dump in the top unit and save myself one of these little jars, these little baskets? Because I want to put that plate in like this with its screws, right? That's the trick. That is the trick. So these two screws here, 1, 2, I want to put in there, right? So I'll leave that like that. I could throw in the barrel, or I could put the barrel on the top. So no, it doesn't want to fit in there. It doesn't want to fit in here, so I'll put the barrel in there. That's not a problem. And the lid in there. And maybe turn that barrel upside down so the lid doesn't go on it, like that. That's not bad. Now the screws are companioned with that. And that's like that now. And that's sitting down nicely. And now I have to take this off because I want to dump all these components now into one of these. So I'll just put it on, I'll put it in here. So there we go. So I just dump these components in here. I could separate them now that I've got more barrel, I've got more real estate that I can deal with, right? So just make sure everything is tucked in flat in this thing, because it will, you want it to run perfectly with its spins and washes, right? So there you go. So that's that. And I want to make sure nothing escapes from a lower end thingamajobby doohickey, right? So all that's good, that's good. And I'll just take some of these components out, maybe separate them. Put that there, and I'll leave all this the way it is. That's fine there. And I'm down one basket, so I didn't really need this basket for the job. Then I put the cover in. Oh, missing one wheel. Ooh, I forgot the wheel here. So this wheel can fit easily into one of these baskets like that. There we go. So that's it. So that's the watch ready for cleaning. And I'm going to go downstairs in my Frankenstein lab and start the cleaning process. Lid goes on like that, and then this whole unit gets attached and gets cleaned like you wouldn't believe. There you go. Thanks. That's the video for now. So the next video will be the attempted reassembly of this thing. Just saying attempted. And the yeah, and I'll tell you that joke after if I can remember. So you need to clean this by hand with lighter fluid. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put that into a little tiny container that I might have to clean it with lighter fluid. Lighter fluid does not dissolve. Let me see, I'm looking around here. You can't see what I'm doing right now, which is probably a good thing. So I would have run that on my new 1900 Watchmaking system. So that, if this fits in here, we're good. Because I'll use that to, there we go. So I fit that, put that in the bottom of this little container, this little brass container that I found, I can't remember. And that's so I'll clean that with lighter fluid later and dry that out. So I'll put that on the end. And that can go inside of the case that I have for the balance. So I want to take this here, and just to make sure stuff is together, I'll leave that right in there where the balance is. And the face, I want to get the face out of the way as well, so I can just lean that face this way here. That's fine, just like that. It's not affecting anything. I just want to keep it away from the balance. So it's good just like that. And the key can go right here. Just keep everything away from that balance. And it all can sit like that. I've got the case over here, and what I'll do with the case is I'm going to throw this case into the ultrasonic cleaner and just clean the crap out of it. Then I go to re-oil the hinges and everything else, but it's a pretty solid case. Seems like it's in good condition. So this will go into the ultrasonic cleaner and That won't impact the case at all. Hopefully it gets rid of all the gum and tape. And because of the material I have for this case, I may polish this up nicely, because that'll be really nice when it's polished. The face actually looks pretty darn good. Like the glass on this is in very good condition. So if the glass comes off in the ultrasonic cleaner, by the way, I can glue that back in without an issue. So I'll place it down like this in case there's any issue, but it shouldn't really come off with the ultrasonic cleaner. It might, but it shouldn't. So that's it. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching.